Good.
All right, we're going to start with the notice for our public hearing to discuss the 2021-2022 budget and appropriations ordinance. Robin, please call the roll.
President Clay,
Yes.
Treasurer Gales,
Present.
Trustee Saylor, yes, Trustee Simpson, also present, Chief Evans and Attorney Wild.
Purpose of this meeting is to discuss the 2021-22 budget and appropriations ordinance number 337. Are there any remarks from the floor concerning the budget appropriations ordinance? Any questions from my fellow trustees?
It's been made available for the last 60 days, so.
Okay. No questions? Nope. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Alrighty. Regular meeting, call to order. Matt, do lead us in the pledge, please.
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rob, please call the roll.
President Caitlin Clay.
Yes.
Treasurer Gales,
Still here.
Trustee Saylor, here, Trustee Simpson, also present, Chief Evans and Attorney Wild.
Thank you, Robin. We have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for 3/16/21.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any questions on the regular meeting minutes? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion to approve the executive session minutes from 3/16/21.
So moved.
Have a second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Marks from the floor. Anybody waving their hand?
You might remind people,
What's that?
folks,
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to ask a question, please hit the wave your hand button. Certainly not. All right.
We have
one.
in here.
Oh,
All right, good night.
absolutely.
So I'm a concerned citizen, live over on Swan Lake, supportive of the fire department, just like many of us are. Just seeing the past couple votes, all the efforts that people have made for, but probably more against. I'm just wondering, and I feel as a resident, things reducing. I live on the other side of the track, so there's that firehouse is probably going to go away at some point. I'm concerned about the milk run trains that constantly come over here, and so we have no support. And I'm just imagining that there's a lot of outsourcing going around, that a lot of calls. So it's always curious to me that my neighbors on that side of the track are so adamant about putting up those big black signs about, no higher fire taxes. So I've lived here 5 years, and I think I've been through 2, maybe 3 votes where it's gone against a moderate increase for the fire department. And I feel as a citizen, just things reducing, and I feel like this activism coming up against the fire department, my words, it just sort of senses a community that there's more mobilization behind the people on these black signs and you almost read it as if they want to defund the fire and not support it, and then you keep losing. So I guess my point inevitably is, what's the plan? What's with what assets you have now, with whatever budget you're working with now at the reduced rate, with things seemingly, consolidating downward. I'd just love to hear some vision on what it looks like until we get to the next vote. Thank you.
Well, my recommendation would be to stay here for this meeting. You're gonna hear some.
I'm here.
And over the next several months, you will hear plans moving forward, what to do. I won't be here. This is my last meeting, but I will tell you, it's not going to be pretty, to be honest. So, but they know what they're doing, and they have an idea what's going to go forward. What I would encourage you and your neighbors, talk to that man right there behind the computer. He's been our champion for a while, and to get it passed, he's going to need more nights.
Yeah, and may I continue?
Please.
you know, and Luke, right? Luke's, you know, he's been up and down our street. We're just one of many, and he's done a great job. You know, and you know, even seeing the posts and following social, etc. But there still seems to be this mobilized army against the fire department. And I don't get it because I don't see any controversy in trying to save my family from, you know, a fire. So I don't think that's a political statement here, but for some reason I'm feeling it. So I understand.
You're not wrong. You're right.
Okay, that's too bad that I'm right. But it's and I imagine that things will get worse, but as long as there's a plan through the pain to get through to where we're headed, you know, that'd be something I'd be encouraged to hear as well.
The voters spoke, and we are a democracy. The voters spoke. They get what they want.
Sure.
They may not realize it, but they get what they want. I mean, or should I say, they may not realize what they're asking for, but they're going to get it. But please stick around. Please keep coming. You're going to hear their plan. Any other questions?
Can I make a comment?
Please.
I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, the trustees and the administrators and firefighters, and to say the Winfield Fire Committee. I know it's been really hard around here, and you guys continue, all of you, to bust your asses for us every single day. And please know it does not go unnoticed, even though sometimes we forget to say thank you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
I guess I'm Randy Moss, 27W331 Manchester. I just want to say, you know, I agree with you. I hope we can build a good army that's positive. The fire department is the center of our community. I stand behind everybody and support you all and our firemen. Really appreciate you. And I hope our residents do too.
Thank you. All righty. Treasurer's report.
Treasurer report is as presented. Any questions?
Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Chief.
Question.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I normally do for my monthly report, I'm going to start out by talking about the Alliance training, which has resumed in recent months with the relaxation in COVID. While they're still taking precautions, we have resumed multi-company operations training. The special operations this month was technical rescue, working with systems for hauling people off of below grade or from high angle rescues, that kind of thing. And I would also like to advise the board that the 6 Alliance agencies, to refresh everyone's memory, West Chicago, Winfield, Wheaton, Carroll Stream, Bloomingdale, and Roselle. So that's our Alliance group who train together, operate together, see each other on a regular basis, makes us better. We have a better product for our citizens by virtue of the fact that we work with each other and interact as much with each other as we do, which is not actually something that's as common as one might think between neighboring agencies. And so that's something we do really well. We're part of that group, and our community is very fortunate to have that. So with respect to specialty teams, again, technical rescue, dive or water rescue, our specialty, and hazardous materials. The Alliance has shifted to do a little bit more interactive training amongst ourselves so that on the initial response, again, shaving minutes in the event of people having a catastrophic event, shaving those minutes. So we're stepping up our special operations training activities so that we can do a better job amongst our 6 agencies of responding and mitigating those incidents before they get too large. So that's going to be some reports coming up in the relative future, and it's really good stuff. And I would compliment Eddie Troutman over there, actually, who is heading up the entire water operation part amongst the Alliance, because he is the resident expert and he's remarkable in his performance of all of the duties that I put on him, which are a lot. And this being one of them, he's really ramping up that stuff, because of the 3 specialty teams, believe it or not, water is the busiest by far. We've been on, I don't even know how many this year so far, this calendar year. And so 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 he's really getting everything dialed in there. So there's going to be more to follow, and it's good news, and it's about us doing a better job earlier in an event to try and get it handled earlier. The longer it goes with our business, typically the worse the outcome. So we're trying to attack that vigorously. For the multi-company training, actually today, tomorrow, and the next, and I would again respectfully ask if anyone's interested and has the time available during the day, I'd be happy to take you up there and you can watch the training going on in Bloomingdale. They're the host agency this month. And we're doing high-rise operations, something we do a couple of times a year, which is particularly meaningful for us now in light of the building that's going in across the street over there. High-rise is its own unique animal. Typically, even for a fire alarm, so a fire alarm at a commercial property or your residential single-family house, fire alarm comes in, we get dispatched. It's typically the response is, as we heard it actually earlier, was an engine, a truck, a chief officer, and a medic unit. We don't have all of that. So immediately when we go to a fire alarm, we're reaching out to our neighbors. In fact, typically Wheaton or West Chicago, sometimes Carroll Stream. With a high rise, actually that number is doubled because of the high risk nature of those types of occupancies and the fact that all of those crews, believe it or not, that's what's involved in getting one operating line in place on an upper floor of a high rise. It takes all of those assets to get one line operating up on the fire floor in the event that there is one. So that's a big deal, and it involves an incredible amount of coordination to be able to get up there quickly. So not only is it good training in general, but it's even more relevant for us in light of you know, CDH's big building, Marion Joy, the Franciscan Sisters, Lee Station. We have a bunch of buildings that meet that similar kind of operation, and now with Winfield Station going in as well, that's really going to be profound training for us to get better dialed in to be able to handle those, even with our limited staffing, while those auto aid companies are responding. Any questions about the trainings? Similarly, it's been a very busy month for us, I'm sorry to say. On March 17th, Black Shift, the crews were actually on, well, the crews were on their way to our Alliance training for the month in Carroll Stream at their training tower. And actually, Tender 31 was dispatched because it was an area that rural water supply was required. So they were en route already, so they kept going. And then similarly, there was a report of civilian victims. So Medic 31, which was on the road, was dispatched to get there quickly as well. Difficult fire, the crews did an awesome job. Compliments to Glenside, they did an awesome job. We had a fire on Geneva Road on March 18th. We were assisted by Wheaton, West Chicago, and Carroll Stream on that fire. We went to West Chicago on the 19th for a fire, Tender 31. On the 20th, Black Shift, Herrick and Armbrust, we had a water rescue, which was interesting because there were several water rescue events that got dispatched, and we wound up over there for a car in the water. On the 26th, Black Shift on Pleasant Hill Road in Carroll Stream's jurisdiction, the tender went for a structure fire. On the 27th, Red Shift on Klein Creek Drive, we had an appliance fire. On the 30th, Burns in Carroll Stream, our brush fire vehicle responded for a pretty big brush fire. On April 1st, Black Shift, Butterfield and Winfield in Warrenville, the medics and I went for an extrication, assisting Warrenville. On the 5th, Red Shift, we actually, for those people that were in the neighborhood, we had a search for a missing person. So going back to a lot of the stuff that we've been doing and a lot of the stuff that I talk about on a month-to-month basis about all of our partnerships and the fact that we've really got a lot more assets at our disposal than we did many years ago. So we've got drones and search dogs and all that kind of stuff. And West Chicago was a leader, to their credit, in a lot of that stuff. And we were able to deploy all those assets for a successful outcome that night. So those people that live in that area saw all kinds of stuff going on. It was all involving that. And then finally on the 13th, the medics and I responded to Estes Street in Warrenville for a structure fire there. So very busy month. Service anniversaries, I'm glad that he's here. Lieutenant Tim Roman, 20 years total time with the district on April 18th. So in terms of the updates, I've had several updates with respect to our engine 31, which is up in Wisconsin, as we're aware of getting some structural work done and the frame rails done. And they actually thought they were ahead of schedule, and I was given an advisory. Brian Burke and I we're scheduled to go up on the 28th for a final inspection of the work, and that was pushed back into sometime in mid-May. So for next meeting, hopefully I'll have a new report for you. So, but the good news is it's getting close, and it's ahead of what the original schedule was when they took it. Firefighter paramedic Beckley, one of our full-time firefighters, resigned with an effective date of April 2nd, and he's leaving us to go to a job. I think he started in Lombard. The new ambulance update. Actually, most of the ambulance committee is here. Lieutenant Roman, firefighter Brian Bird, and firefighter Andrew Martin is the other member of that committee. They did a super job of designing a really good rig. So, which the board had the RP, made a determination. So we went back and did the post walkthrough of the specifications, and the combination of that, and then the conversation about financing options has been going on. So that conversation has been ongoing, and we've managed to save a little bit of money off of the original bid price by virtue of making some adjustments to the build and the potential for a prepayment discount. We've investigated leasing options. Turn and lease is not an option for this type of vehicle because ambulances have a short life expectancy, a hard life expectancy, and consequently they're not often eligible for that type of option. So in this particular case specifically, we found out that was not an option at our disposal, and we investigated lease to own rates for 5-year, 6-year, and 7-year leases, and the result of which would be an approximate additional cost over and above purchase price, which was down to $192 and change, of north of $11,000 for a 5-year lease, $14,000 for a 6-year lease, and $17,000 for a 7-year lease. So that process continues, but we have been doing our due diligence with respect to payment options with respect to that. And that, I believe, is all I have to report at this time.
Thank you, Chief. Bernie?
One of the pieces of recent legislation has made some sweeping reforms with respect to law enforcement that would typically not affect us, but because we do have arson investigators who have law enforcement, they have law enforcement powers, that the chief and I will be looking at that very, very comprehensive set of litigation to make sure that our ordinances are in line with the expectations of the legislation. So we'll be probably reporting on that the next meeting.
Do we have an executive session later?
Pardon me?
Do we have an executive session later?
No.
I would like to actually go back to my report. I'm sorry, I thought it was under other business. Robin reminded me otherwise, so thank you for that. With respect to my report on the sustainability and the post-election results, attached, we don't have the
Official canvas won't be available till the 28th.
but in order to have something prepared for the meeting, I printed off the unofficial results from the county's website, and it demonstrates in all of the different precincts what the outcomes were, and to some degree of accuracy information for you all to review that. And then the attached report cover letter with respect to that. And this goes back to the residents' comments early on in the meeting. It was the administration's desire to work hard, and through the help of a lot of people, many of whom are in this room, we feel that we were able to get the information out so that our public could make an informed decision. That was going back. That was what we had always asked for the opportunity for the people to make an informed decision when they voted. And I believe that was accomplished through the hard work and effort of many of these people in this room. And to Mr. President, to your point, people have spoken, and the question is, where do we go from here? You know, we are not people by nature, and as professionals, it is not in our nature to slow down, keep pushing, moving forward. We have a job to do, and no matter what that job, what the framework is that we have to work within, we have a job to do, and each and every one of us will give everything we have to do it. There's no quit in any of us, and there never will be. With that said, we've been advised of the world we have to live in. So within the memorandum, there are several potential courses of action that we can take, and I look forward to investigating fully. And the question is to the board, you know, what directions do we want to go with respect to this? You know, I think that it was fairly clearly evident that the one station, one ambulance company, one ambulance company, one engine company operational mode that we have was what I think the people seem to want. So where do we go from here? We have a facility that even those people that were antithetical to our request will agree is in very tough shape. We have a fleet that even those people that were antithetical to our request are freely admit that is in rough shape. The staffing model, there's a lot on social media that and even campaign literature that the acknowledgement that we could use a second crew, or the third crew, we just can't afford it. Yeah. So we have a lot of decisions to make going forward. There was a plan. I still feel, and President Clagy and I talked before the meeting, that was a genuine, sincere, fiscally conscientious, legitimate, good, the best plan given all of the data that we had. However, people have spoken, so we have to start working on the next plan. We have a strategic plan to build and an operational plan to implement, and we need to get going in haste on it. To that point, we've already started meeting with architecture firms about what to do in terms of options with respect to a facility. We've met with, as recently as this morning, with our financial advisors that we brought in recently to give us the pathway forward for sustainability. And so that begs into the question, what directions are we going to go? Are we going to go with a single facility? Or are we going to go, you know, aspire for multiple facilities? You know, again, going back to my memorandum, you know, because we have to really examine the possibility of a forever fire station. How much money would it take to put into this facility to get what is an outcome in the middle of Winfield with the trains and the traffic? We're a bay short. We can't hold a reserve apparatus in this facility. So that would impact our fleet, because if we can't have a reserve for one of our rigs goes down on maintenance, like our engine is currently in Wisconsin, does that affect the longevity of our apparatus fleet? So there's 1,000,001 different complications with every one of these issues that we try and tackle, but we need to start tackling. We have a community that's depending on us, and we need to get cracking. So we need to have the conversation and determine the direction that we're going to go moving forward based on, again, a lot of these points that I pointed out in the cover memo. Modernizing the fleet, modernizing the facility, right-sizing the facility, right-sizing the district for the staffing model that we have, adjusting response modes, going back to the fire alarm example I used earlier. You know, it's not ideal, but do we adjust staffing models for the apparatus and the companies that we have on hand? Those are all very difficult, very hard conversations. They are going to affect our ISO rating. Understand that our ISO rating, there are things in there, the ISO rating, which has a lot to do with how your insurance coverage is priced, has to do with three things. The dispatch center, water supply, and the fire department itself. There's three elements to an ISO rating. And even within the fire department part of the ISO rating, there is only limited stuff that we can affect. As calls go up and our staffing levels don't, that's going to impact the ISO rating through no fault of ours. There's nothing we can do about it. As big buildings that are in TIF districts that we're not getting money for go up, big buildings, that's going to affect our ISO rating. There's nothing we can do about it. It's not our fault. Those things that we can impact, I give my assurance to my community that we will do everything we can to maximize our points like we always have. Things like training and rural water delivery, stuff that we've excelled at and max or close to maxed out on our ISO rating, we will continue to do. But there are a lot of things that we can't impact that are going to adversely affect that. And how many companies are responding to calls, all of those things. So a lot of these decisions are going to have indirect impacts with that, which is going to unfortunately negatively impact our residents. But those are the conversations we're going to need to have going forward, and we need to start in earnest. So with respect to that, I'm prepared to entertain any questions you have about the cover letter, number one, and then number two, direction, and then we're going to start in earnest, because again, we've already started meeting with people to get all of this stuff arranged. Cost comparisons and price analysis for what we're going to do with what facility where to try and do this as economically as possible, and then how do we afford it. Similarly, the fleet stuff, meeting with different manufacturers, seeing for our next vehicle, what are cost conservative options going forward. We had someone here today. But all these things we're going to start hitting in earnest, the financial advisor, in terms of plotting out our financial plan, because there's going to be likely, again, this is the board's decision, not mine, but there will likely be debt involved with some of this. How do we manage it? There's a lot of complications that we're facing in our forever moving forward fire district. So, and again, our residents deserve to have us get this ironed out sooner than later, and I aim to do so.
Thank you, Steve. I think one of the important things to remember as we move forward with that is, what are our neighbors going to say? Because as you grow that bigger buildings and all that kind of stuff, we're going to rely on them more and more, the very people who are not overly happy with us because of what because of them subsidizing Winfield, and we're going to rely on them even more. So the grumbling is going to get louder.
Yeah, indeed, and that's one of the points in this, is about adjusting response models so that we rely on Wheaton's tower and battalion chief that have been to us, I think, a couple of times today so far. A little less reliance on them if we can adjust our response model. However, that's going to affect.
For those listening and those who don't know what Chief Evans just said, he's talking about reducing the number of vehicles that show up to a call. So when a call that normally has the ambulance, an engine, the chief, and another vehicle of some kind, now we're just talking one showing up to make it an evaluation, and then they call for more apparatus. So instead of you have a house fire, instead of everything showing up in 4 minutes, something shows up in 4 minutes and the rest show up in 7 or 8 minutes.
Or longer.
That's what Chief Evans just said. Is there any more questions for the chief?
Adjusting response times, adjusting territories.
Again, that was included in there as well, and that will be dependent upon where we, in my estimation and in my recommendation, that would depend on where we wind up. That's going to involve what the architects come back and tell us. If this building, which we've already had a few reports, well, frankly, one that said it was beyond hope, but we've had a couple of reports that would be difficult to make this place work and be compliant with ADA. And the fact that we don't have the space on the apparatus floor to accommodate, again, reserve stuff. We have 2 ambulances, one of which is our reserve, but we operate our reserve every day. They can tell you that. They've done it already today, I believe. So we don't have a reserve ambulance. Our reserve engine, we have one that's currently not functioning, but when we upgrade that, hopefully in the next year, we won't have anywhere to park a reserve. There's no place out there. So if we can't make this work, then our alternatives are kind of decided for us. But that's all stuff that we're working through, and we're not just trying to come up with well, we want to do this, we're going to make it happen. We're going to do a comprehensive analysis of our options to present to the board at a public meeting so that the people can see that we've done a comprehensive investigation in advance.
I just want to address the question that was kind of thrown out earlier that we said we would address, which is about fire station number 2. We've not discussed it, but the voters have basically said they don't want fire station number 2. The committee that runs our referendum is not going to run a referendum to save fire station number 2 any longer. So we are going to have an alternative thought process. We are going to regroup. We have a tentative plan B that hasn't really been kicked around the room much, but we've all seen this fail one too many times.
11,
13.
So we're gonna listen to the people, and we're gonna give them the government that they choose to support, and we're gonna do the best job we can. Unfortunately, there's gonna be some areas in our district that may not be in our district in the future, or maybe, depending on how things really end up. But we've put a firm hold on going forward with a referendum. We're listening to the community, and we will continue to be the best that we can be, because I feel that from being in the past as a commissioner, we have the same list as any other fire district has, and we've got some of the best people that work here and have worked here for many, many years. We have a great fire staff, great fire people. Our administrative staff is highly overworked and yet appreciative to come in every day. And we will rise from this, and we will become a better fire district, and we will have a better place to organize from. And if we lose some people along the way, that we're prepared for that.
thank you, Chief.
I just want, you live down on the south side of town, I live on the south side of town. I don't agree fully with that. I will do everything in my power to make sure that that south side station is not the first thing that goes. Because we have schools on the south side of this town. We now have a very large development on the south side of this town. We already have the piece of land, we already have a building on it. It's a very small amount of money we're gonna get for it that is not gonna fix this big hole we have. You're talking, putting a piece of gum on a whatever, a leak of something, like it's not gonna work. We have a property that's been sitting up there that is gonna cost, way more than we could ever afford to build on. If we're gonna get rid of property, that's gonna be the first to go, because we can house things at that station. We can house extra equipment at that station. The second that's gone, it's gone. Property on the south side of town, it's never gonna be cheap again. We're never gonna get it again. You look at any place on the south side of town that we could put a station in, we're not gonna be able to afford it. So that should be our absolute last thing to sacrifice. Because you're talking, I looked today, 287 votes, I think it was. 287 votes. So you're gonna let 287 votes decide for, thousands of residents that they'll never get the type of service they need on that south side of town.
Everything you said is 100% true.
I'm just making it clear because we have
100%.
residents.
Right, no,
We have residents here that
you
we are
are
not in all agreement that south side of station is a top priority to get rid of.
And I myself have fought for that because that is the proper thing to do.
Mhm.
100% correct, Jenny. Everything you say is completely right. Unfortunately, 13 times they've said no. And
They've said no for all sorts of reasons,
Well,
but we never went for a flat on the ballot saying, open south side station.
I think we did. When we had the for sale sign up,
And then that was
referendums
scare
ago.
tactics to residents of what do you think you're gonna get out of that?
well, but I mean, that's basically what we went for was Safe Station 2, and we didn't. You know, I mean, the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting different results. I mean, we've
So again,
got,
selling a piece of property that's gonna bring next to nothing and lose all that storage space, lose that potential to put a jump company there if something does happen, if we get money from the hospital, if we get money from who knows what, if the TIF districts,
Jenny,
you know,
no one's
fall apart.
disagreeing with you. We all agree that it's a salvation for the other side of the railroad tracks. But Steve is looking into, excuse me, the chief is looking into all of the opportunities that we have. He's meeting with everyone possible to see what's gonna work. And he's gonna bring us a very fair and comprehensive plan of the best way to go forward. And if station number 2 is in it, I'm up with it wholeheartedly, because I have friends on the south side too, and I consider you one of them. But I mean, and we have a school that my kids went to on the south side, and I'd like to say, because I served on the school board for 8 years. But, you know, it's one of the things where you can't do everything when not everyone's behind you.
Which I agree, but I'm just saying it's a very small Band-Aid for a much bigger problem.
No, we don't know. We're gonna find out.
Yeah,
And, you know, and everything you said is true. I can't argue with it. But we're gonna find out what's gonna go forward, and how we're gonna go forward. And I believe, as we always have, once we see the facts in front of us and we have a discussion, that we'll continue to go forward as a united board. Because we all have good common sense and the wherewithal to yield and bend when we need to. Because it's for the betterment of our community.
The ironies that are associated with this planning are unbelievable. Every option is against, I've been doing this for 40 years. Every option has so many ironic, unintended consequences and extremely serious consequences. Reducing the staff, the NFPA standards will show you that the volume of fire increases exponentially with every minute of delay in response time. The Department of Labor standards require personnel to be even on the inside and the outside of a fire. Putting one vehicle at a fire and expecting another 4-minute response time is going to endanger that crew. That crew isn't going to stand there just because the Department of Labor says that we can't go in unless somebody's there. They're going to go in and start rescuing people. The danger to that personnel is extraordinary. And I don't know how many times you can tell people that you have to pay for that type of protection. The other issue is that one of the things that is being talked about, one of the options that other districts that are in this same situation say, well, let's right-size our district. Well, here's the irony that happens to that. The people who have voted against this religiously, if we disconnect sections, those people will be connected to someone who is to a district that is going to pay significantly more taxes. The effect on that district is that their rates go down because they are because they are accepting new property, and the way that the P-tax calculation goes is their rate goes down but their dollars stay the same because they're applying it against more property. For us, the way that the P-TEL calculation goes, in order for us to maintain our limiting rate, everybody else's taxes automatically without referendum go up. It's really a serious thing. And to sell the South Side Station or to deploy assets, as people have, as the naysayers have said should happen, what that would generate for us would be less than 1 month's worth of operating expenses. Okay, and then we're just gnawing our arms off to get out of the trap. I mean, there is no, other than the dedication of the people who have been working under these circumstances for the last 20 years. That's what we've got going for us. We've got a great esprit de corps, and we've got a great willingness to do that. But anything to finance that just has a circle of decline that is just extraordinarily hopeless. So, amen. I didn't mean to butt in, but I've written 13 of these referendum, and I can't understand why people don't understand it. So.
And again, if I may,
Chief.
it's just, again, the government, there are a lot of options that we need to fully vet, because these, to everyone's point that is spoken thus far, every one of these is going to have far-reaching consequences that are going to be more impactful than people realize, which is why I didn't come with you with, here's the plan. These are discussion points that we need to discuss. There's a lot of options, and a lot of them are awful. But our community demands, and we absolutely owe it to our community to figure out where we're going from here, because the status quo just isn't good enough anymore. I mean, we've got to, for gosh sakes, the garage door in the back is a all-weather garage door because it rains on top of it. Structural cracks, roof leaks, windows that they have to grab and pull and shut, and it's kind of madness. So there's some of this stuff that we just need to start tackling, and we just do. And so there's going to be some difficult conversations, which was the point of my cover letter was we need to get cracking, and it's not going to be fun, with all due respect.
Absolutely right.
People have made us live in a house that they wouldn't live in themselves.
Anything, Brandy?
I couldn't keep my mouth shut.
I understand. All right, thank you again, Chief. Motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, discuss and possible action on vacancy for commission.
In your packet is a letter from Commissioner Hannon with his, who currently serves on the Board of Fire Commissioners. Very kind letter advising of his resignation from that position, obviously with his recent election as a member of the Board of Trustees. So in the packet is that. Similarly, then that will, assuming that it's approved.
But I recommend that not be approved until the canvas is approved, and we don't have the canvas yet, right?
28th.
28th. So we should
Table that till next month.
table that for next month, and then we resign, and he wants to, because we're required to approve the canvas.
Okay. All right, so we will table this till next month.
So assuming there will be a vacancy, then as we get and collect, and we got one today, letters of interest in
Becoming commissioner.
in filling that vacancy. So
Sounds
more to
good.
follow on that.
All righty, next adopt transfer ordinance 336. Steve, could you quickly bring us up to speed on this?
Thanks, Ron.
the same one we adopt every year. It's just to reorganize the line items. If you're overextended on one line item and you're under in another, we just rearrange it.
Rearrange it.
Percentage.
Thank you, Robin. Do I have a motion to accept ordinance 336?
Second.
Robin, could you please call the roll on this?
President Lee,
Yes.
Treasurer Ellis.
Yes.
Trustee Saylor.
Yes.
Trustee Simpson.
Yes.
Next, adopt 2021-2022 budget appropriations ordinance. Do I have a motion to adjourn, accept that?
Make the motion.
Do I have a second? All righty, Robin, please call the roll on that.
President Lee,
Yes.
Treasurer Ellis.
Yes.
Trustee Saylor.
Yes.
Trustee Simpson.
Yes.
We received a correspondence from Jason Day, thanking us for considering him for the deputy fire chief position. It's very kind of him.
Nice.
A motion to pay the bills. Any questions?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? If it was okay with my fellow trustees, tonight is my final night with the board, with the Winfield Fire Protection District. It's been 17 years. I'd like to thank a few people, if you don't mind. First, I'd like to thank the board, past and present. We have debated, we've argued, we have disagreed. But one thing we have never done is make it personal. We've left here as friends, we've gone across the street, had a drink. We have shown what it means to lead. And that is something that this community, I think, is now starting to see. Bernie, your counsel these 17 years has been invaluable. From myself as president and as a trustee. This organization is extremely lucky to have you here. And it's been a pleasure working with you. And you've kept us on a straight and narrow, and your guidance has been, and your counsel has been invaluable. Thank you. A lot of people will know who actually runs this department. Robin. You have kept us going and done things. You know where all the bodies are buried. You know what else needs to be done. Your friendship has meant a lot to me, and thank you.
Likewise, thank you. I appreciate that.
We need a leader. We've had some very good fire chiefs over the years. I've learned a lot from all of them. We have a very difficult road ahead of us. But I cannot imagine anyone else leading us than Chief Evans. The future, whatever it is, I know that when that alarm goes off, they got the best guy wearing the best badge. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. It's all.
I've left this last group last for a very specific reason. The word hero has been used a lot nowadays and seems to have been bastardized. Seems that some Hollywood celebrity who does something just north of being a human being is touted as a celebrity. And that's a big load of crap. I've heard those tones go off. I've seen these men and women, past and present, calmly and dutifully walk out to those rigs and get on them, having no clue what the hell they're walking into. They have no idea. And they do it day in, day out. Folks, thank you for allowing me in your world. It's been a pleasure to be in your presence. You really are heroes. And one last time.
Wait. That's not me, it's you. We have a present for you.
Oh, shit.
It's a beeper.
Oh, beeper.
Mr. President. The district would like to present you for this in appreciation for your years of dutiful service and speaking on a personal level, your help in my transition from that side of the wall to this has been invaluable, and your leadership is more appreciated than you'll ever know. So on behalf of the district, I present you with this, and in terms of myself, I present you with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Now, for the last time, do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
Good night.